What does the Bible say about climate change?
All right, let's see it.
Yes, let's see.
First and foremost, the Bible speaks in the book of Romans about a generation that was going to spend more time worshiping the created things than the Creator. And I think that that generation is on the earth today.
No, Romans 1:18 through 32 pretty clearly is speaking about the Greco-Roman world in Paul's day. All the verbs that are used in reference to the activity of this generation are either present active verbs or aorist verbs, which is kind of like a simple past. So this is indisputably a group that was around before Paul and was around during Paul. There is no argument to make that this is some kind of prophecy or prediction about a future generation. The only reason anyone would get that out of the text is if they need to read it into the text because they need to use the text to target somebody.
All right, here's the bridegroom. Let's get into this really quick. First, I want to start off by saying I'm not a Greek scholar. I don't have all the degrees like he has on his back wall there. But I'm just a lonely side maker here in Dallas, Texas. And I love the Word of God. And I study it intently, most especially the Greek. I really get into the Greek. And this is one of my main sources for studying the Greek language. Now, this present active verb. First of all, there are 5 different present active verbs in the Greek language. And almost all of them, except for one, indicates an action that continues. It goes on from the present on into the future. And the only one that fits the description that he's saying, where it happens during the time of the speaker, is a present indicative. Asserts something which is occurring while the speaker is making the statement. Now this only happens 7 times in Romans 1:18 through 32, the passage in question. And that is in verse 19, the word is. Verse 20, clearly seen. Verse 22, be. Verse 25, is. Verse 28, do. And verse 32 are. Now, if you want, feel free, go back, read the passage again, pay attention to those, and I don't know what this guy is trying to make it out to be. Honestly, it doesn't change the passage to me, if you ask me. It doesn't change. I'll get more into that here if you'll stick around. Now, let's go on to what he says about aorist verbs, and then I'll come back.
Or aorist verbs, which is kind of like a simple past.
Now right there, the aorist verbs. That's what caught my attention to begin with in this video. When I was scrolling through the videos and I came across him and I heard him say that, that's what made my ears tingle. I was like, oh, whoa, hold on a minute. Because I've studied the Greek language enough to know that the main purpose of aorist verbs are to imply something that is not continuous. Present, most of the time, means continuous. Aorist, most of the time, means not continuous. And all of them, except for one, do not indicate anything about time. They indicate nothing about time. Only one does. And that is an aorist participle. And that only, let's read. I'm bringing it up down right here. An aorist participle expresses simple action as opposed to continuous action, which would be expressed by the present active participle. It does not in itself indicate the time of the action. However, when in relation to the main verb is temporal, it usually signifies action prior to that of the main verb. Nothing about how far back. He says simple past, whatever he means by that. That's not there. And all the other aorist verbs have nothing to do with time. There is no temporal part of them. And on top of that, this one here is only used 3 times in the passage. Verse 32, the word knowing. I don't really think that's past. Like it said, only some of the times. Verse 21, knew. Obviously past. Verse 25, creator. Because he's already created everything. So that is obviously past, right? Now the aorist verb that's used mostly in this passage is an aorist indicative. Let's read its description. The aorist indicative expresses action that is not continuous. It does not specify a relative time of the action, the time of speaking, to the time of speaking. So I don't know where he's getting his definitions. I mean, he's obviously has lots of degrees, but that is what caught my ear when he said about the aorist verbs. That's not what an aorist verb is. So let's go back and let's take a look at what Brother Franklin Graham was talking about, and I'll address that.
First and foremost, the Bible speaks in the book of Romans about a generation that was going to spend more time worshiping the created things than the Creator. And I think that that generation is on the earth today.
All right, with our brother Franklin Graham there. Now, I'm a big fan of Billy Graham. I don't know really too much about his son Franklin there. But now this passage, it's not talking about any specific time. What it's saying is that for a long time now, people have worshipped the creation versus the Creator. And in Paul's time, they were still doing that. And that they'll still be doing it until the end comes. This is just a condition of these men. It's not talking about anything about time. You can apply this to these types of men at all times. But can you say what Brother Franklin was saying? You might be able to. I personally think that that's stretching the text a little outside its context. I'll let you be the judge. Until next time, remember, here's the bridegroom. Here's the bridegroom. Come on out to meet him. Come on out to meet him.